Okay, crafters, well, let's get started on our project. Like I typically do, I have my my album made. It's been covered, and I make my albums the way that Tamara has taught how to make albums. So each piece is folded separately, and then they are glued together on the spine. I will link my my tutorial down in the description to so that you know how to do that as well. But it's better not to do in every single tutorial. With this album, I decided I was going to try something different that I've seen others do in the past, where I've seen them, rather than putting pages on a hinge, they just make a hinge from the pieces of paper and glue it down onto the spine. So I'm trying it out this time to see how it works, and I'll let you know what I think of it as I go along. I'm also going to go ahead and do the pages similar to what I did in my last excuse me, my last big album. What album was it? Oh, it was the Farmhouse Summer album where I did the pages, excuse me, I'm so sorry, where I built my pages on top of my paper. So what we're going to do, that I always do, is I start out with my covers, decorating my covers, and then I move on into the book. So let me give you some basics on this. This album is 10 by 10. It's a square 10 by 10. The spine is 2 inches by 10. Same thing on the back, 10 by 10. And then my my pages inside are 9.5 by 10. And then it's scored at a 1/2 inch. So it basically ends up making our pages 9.5 by 9.5. So, and I'm only doing 2 pages this time because I have some ideas of some things that I want to do in this. So you might be asking why I want to do this like this or differently. I decided that I wanted to see, first of all, I didn't necessarily want to put pockets in the side of my pages. And I wanted to see what I could do as far as building on these pages, and how if I could get this to lay as flat as possible. Most of mine do a good job, but they don't lay as flat as I would like them to. So that's what I'm going to try this time. Sorry, I don't mean to keep flipping back and forth, but it's actually kind of fun because they just flip so nicely. So again, I'm only putting 2 pages in. This spine that is 2 inches, you definitely could put 3 pages in that. But as it stands like this, it's already going to have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 photo opportunity pages or more, depending upon if we put flips and flaps on them. So that'll give us even more space for our photos. So like I said, as usual, I like to start on my cover. Sorry, I hit that. I like to start on my cover, and what I've done for this cover is I've picked out this paper, this lovely, lovely paper. And again, something I'm going to do a little bit different. Normally I do my covers or my matting by 1/8, and this time I'm going to be doing this by a 1/4 inch. So what I did with this paper is the chipboard is 10 inches, 10 by 10. My layered piece, which is this beautiful cardstock from Country Craft Creations, it's a white shimmer. It's beautiful. That is at 9 3/4 by 9 3/4. And then my pattern paper is 9.5 by 9.5. And then I just glued the pattern paper down onto that shimmer white cardstock, and going to glue that down. For the spine, whenever I wrap a spine like this, I find that this is 2 inches, but I find that the width of it stays pretty much 2 inches when I'm putting paper on it. So and that usually is what makes it look the best. So again, this is 2 inches by 10 inches, and then this white double matted, double piece matting. It's a white shimmer that is 2 inches by 9 3/4, and this is this one is 1 7/8. No, 1 3/4. 1 3/4 by 9 1/2, and that'll give me a really nice spine, real nice look to my spine. So let's get these down and we can move on to the next pages. As I say in all my videos, I am not a score tape girl. I think glue is a much better medium for my albums. Meaning that from an article that I read, or a study that I read, was that glue lasted longer than tape. Sorry, I've got to scoot this here so I can get this all where I want it to be. Sorry, I know I was off camera. I apologize. So that's the reason why I use art glitter glue, because number one, I like art glitter glue. Oh, I can't talk today. I like art glitter glue because it dries usually fairly fast, but you have a little bit of wiggle room if you put a little bit more on the cardstock. It'll let you wiggle it through a little bit. This one won't be as hard to do because it is a fairly small area. It's really most difficult when it's a large piece. Sorry, again, I'm sorry if I'm off camera. I just got to make sure I can get this so that it's centered the best I can. And then just be sure to wipe any glue away if you have any. I try not to, but inevitably I do get glue. So then we've got this one to go down, and I am double matting this part, these pages, but I'm also going to be double matting the inside cover just to pull that through the design of this album. The other thing with art glitter glue is you don't need a ton of it. This may look like a lot of glue, but it really isn't. It's I don't want to say scraped, but it is kind of scraped along the paper so that it's not quite so heavy. There we go. Oh, I can't tell you how much I love this paper. This paper is so absolutely stunning. I could just sit and look at this all day. It's so stunning. So this is as far as I'm going to go with the covers. I don't do any decorating or any other types of items like that until I'm a little bit further along. I do want to use in this photo album some of these frames by Tim Holtz. These I got at Country Craft Creations. I thought that this would look really nice on the cover, or even something like this. I had even thought about doing something here. I had thought about doing something like a collage of frames, or you know, something like that, rather than flowers and ribbons and those kinds of things. I just think these frames are really unique, and I think they make a cool statement to our cover. But I don't know. I mean, that's just my first chance at putting this down, and not sure if that's what I'm going to do, but or if I'm going to, the other thing I thought of is putting some paper behind some of these so that they're not all just open to the paper on the cover. But maybe something like that, maybe something, you know, maybe I go back to more of a traditional format. But that's kind of gives you a heads up. If you haven't gotten these frames yet, you know, head on over to Country Craft Creations and buy a packet of them. They are, I just think they're really cool, and I think they'll be really neat in the album. So be sure to get that as well. And if I didn't say so, this is the Mintay Lavender Farm. I think it was Lavender. Yes, Lavender Farm. And it is gorgeous. So I'm going to start working on some plans for our inside cover. And once I have the layout going, I'll then come back and we'll talk about this starting as page 1. All right, well, we'll see in just a couple minutes. Hi, I am back with the start of our page 1, or the cover being the page 1. I ended up putting this together because I wanted to try something new or something different, and quite honestly, when I try something new or different, I prefer not to do it on camera, and I didn't really have the time to do it on its own or to do a test of that. So basically what I did is I cut my pattern paper, the Shimmer Country Craft Creations cardstock. Sorry, I'm a little out of breath. I was running over here. And that ended up being 9 and 7/8 by 9 and 7/8. And then I ended up putting the pattern paper underneath that, just 1/4 of an inch shorter than, so it ended up being, let me see. So really this shimmer cardstock, I measured out at 9 and 7/8, but I would make it 9 3/4 by 9 3/4, and then I would make this pattern paper 9 1/2 by 9 1/2. And I took this pattern paper, and then I took one of the Holtz Frames, and I put it down here with temporary tape. Just this kind of temporary tape, and I put one of the cards behind it, and I just cut the top part, and you can see it was just a little bit short, but I just put a white piece of cardstock in there. And I would take this up for you, but I already had taken it up once, and I don't want to do it again because it's going to but I just used temporary tape, and the reason why I did that is so that if the individual who uses this album, whether it's me or someone else, they can put a photo behind this if they would like to. Well, here, let me pick it up. So I didn't glue this onto the back of the frame. I put the glue on the back of the frame to fit on top of this. So all they would have to do is cut out a picture that would match up for this frame going down, and they could put their own photo underneath there. And then what I ended up doing is I cut two flaps for this, and they were cut at 5, actually I cut them at 6 inches so that I would have enough to do some further cutting on them. But they ended up being 5 inches across all the way to the middle. And with doing that, that also, so it's 5 inches, 5.5, 5 and 5/8. Because what I ended up doing was scoring them at 1/2 of an inch and then at 1/8 of an inch to give myself a little bit of a gusset on these flaps. And then what I did was, I had seen another crafter one time, a long time ago, where they put their pages together so that it looked like all one page and that it actually held it down. So what I ended up doing was going on my pages, finding the center of my page and measuring that all out. So if you have a Tim Holtz ruler, you can find the center of your page. And what I ended up doing was making this centerpiece 1/4 of an inch longer on one side and longer on this side. The next time around, I think I'm going to do something a little bit different. As you can see here, it matches pretty closely to this center. Next time I am going to leave a little bit more cardstock down this way so I can bend that a little bit closer or tuck it a little closer. The thing that I did do is when I cut my cardstock for the back of this, I made sure that my pattern paper went towards the very, very edge, and then I just trimmed off with my knife the paper so that there is like 1/8 of an inch along here, so that it would help to fit together just like this. See, there's 1/8 of an inch, maybe that's even 1/16. I cut that one a little bit tighter so that this would help for them to connect together a little bit better. And then this fits on the front cover, matching up the cover measurements, and it gives us a start to our album. Now, I'm not putting anything on this right now. I may end up putting some other types of items, but I think it's so beautiful right now that we can end up putting our photos on the inside of here and down here and on the front of here to enjoy the paper just the way it is. So as it stands, what I'm going to do is put this into our album, and I'm going to make sure that it is close to the edge of this and not too close to this edge, because we want to be able to close the cover. So I'm going to do that and add our glue. And once we've got that done, then we can move on to page 2. Now, I did the same thing again with this mini album. As you can see, where I ended up putting my flips and flaps over the base of my cardstock rather than attaching it to the actual album or the pages in the album. I took the page, the pattern paper, the solid paper, so that it all, for what I was going to do, and I ended up putting all my flaps attached to my base of my patterned paper, rather than putting my my doors, gluing them down to the cover of the album. I glued them to the back of my base on my cardstock. And I'm just gonna, this is new to me. I did it in my last album that I made, the vintage farmhouse summer album, and I wanted to try it out again to see how I liked doing that. I liked it in that album. I used a bit more paper, but nothing too bad. Just want to make sure. See, now I have to tell you, I just put this in and I close that up, and now I'm going to close it like this and it flips open. So I may have to do some kind of other closure because this doesn't really hold it like I wanted it to. And that's why I said that next time I think I need to make these crossovers a little bit longer so that they actually really tuck more into each other. And I'm not 100% sure what I'm going to do yet. I may even put a band across here in order to hold it a little bit tighter, but I'm going to wait and see what I end up doing with that. So, but I like the way this looks. It really gives the opportunity to see the paper in all its glory. So next we're going to move on to our first page and our second page, and I will be back when I have those items cut out and ready to go down on this page. So I'll see you in just a little bit. Thank you. Alrighty, so let's get on to our page 2. I'm going to use this pattern paper for my base, and this is cut at 9 and it's just a little shy of that actually, 9 3/8 by 9 3/8. So that's going to be the base, and that's what we're going to be working off of. And then I want to put onto here some flaps that will go in here like this across our paper, and this will open up. So what I did is I took one piece of 12 by 12 cardstock and I cut it 12 inches long by 6 inches. So I made the most of my cardstock, and then what I ended up doing was I did a little bit of unusual scoring because I kind of did this after the fact. So I scored, basically I scored it a 1/2 of an inch, but then I went back in and I added another 1/8 of an inch, not another, but I scored it in half. So if I was going to go from the beginning, the first score that I made was 3/8, then 1/8, which would make it 1/4 of an inch. And then the next, well, this is silly. I guess I should just do it this way. Would make much more sense for everyone. So the first score is at 3/8, then at 1/2 of an inch, and then this one is at 4 3/4, and then this one is at, let me make sure that's the right one because I fixed a score on that too. And then this is at 8 1/2. And I made a mistake here, so 8 1/2. So what you want to score at, again, let me just go back, 3/8, 1/2 inch, 4, sorry, actually this is 4 5/8, and this is 8 1/2, and that's the end. So, and then what I did is that I have this little gusset here, which is 1/8 of an inch in there, and so that this is all going to go into here and fit on our base page. And the reason why I did this afterwards is because when I put this all down, it just was so full, and I thought once I put other papers or the pictures in there, I would want that for my paper. Now this side is scored exactly the same as the other side, and both of these are going to go onto our base here. So let's put those on first. I am not going to cover these right now. I am going to wait and cover them at the end of my tutorial, because I want to see what I have left over, and if I've got full sheets left over, I can use full sheets. If I don't, I can use some scraps along there as well. So the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to bring this down about, it's about 1/2 of an inch from the top, and you see that 1/8 of an inch right there. So I'm going to bring this along here, flat fold all the way along, hold on to that, and then I'm going to put my glue on the back of here, if it comes out. I was just using it, it should. Little messy, sorry. So I've got that one down, and then I'm going to do the same thing with this side. We're going to put this one down and match it up with the other side. Ugh, sorry. And same thing with this one. We want to lay this flat down so that we get just this fold here, and that we have 1/8 of an inch gusset in there. So make sure you don't glue to this, but leave that gusset open. And once that's open like that, that's going to come in here. But these, I'm not putting a magnet on these because we've got some more things we're going to add to here. So like I said again, I'm going to leave these plain until I get a little bit more done. Then what I wanted to do was to put a flap onto here with the flap coming up this way. And this one will go on top of that one because we are also going to be adding pockets to the bottom of here, and these pockets are going to go across the bottom, and they will have tags coming out of them, and then those will hold down, actually this can come down, this will hold this down. So let's get the measurements for those, and let's put these pages down. So one of the things that I did is I took what I have for my cutoffs so far, and I put this together to use some of the cutoffs rather than using all the main pages. So again, what I did with this is I took one piece of the 12 by 12 cardstock, and I cut this to 9.5, I believe. 9.5, Margaret? I cut the base, oh no, I'm sorry. I cut that to 9, and that's really funny. Oh, because my page. So 9 3/8 was the width, and then my cardstock on here, all of my cardstock is 9 1/4. So what I did is I took any of my cutoffs and I put them together, and then I had a little bit of a space in between there. So then I cut a piece of my wooden paper in the opposite color. This is a 1/4 of an inch strip, and I just took whatever I had that I could put together on here. This ends up being the tag part in and of itself. This ends up being a 5 1/4, because what I ended up doing with my my 12 by 12 cardstock is I cut it in half. Like I said, I cut it in half by 6, and I cut this piece of black cardstock by 9 3/8. And then by cutting this to 6, I scored at a 1/2 of an inch, and then I scored at a 1/4 of an inch, so that I would get a gusset that was bigger and could accommodate everything that's underneath it. And then I also, as I've done with the other ones, is I've mitered the edges on these pages. So we're going to go along and we're going to get these pages put onto our base, just like we did with our other pages. So what I always like to do is that if there's a gusset on there, is I like to make sure that I put that gusset flat to the front, and go onto the back side to get my glue put on. Sorry if I'm in the way of seeing this, I apologize. But I matched this page up then to where I had it scored for just this hinge, and making sure that I'm matching side by side to the back of this, and then we can put our gusset back into play where we had it. And then we're going to put this one, this is cut the same way, where our flap, this is the 6 inches, sorry, this is 6 inches long, scored at 1/2 of an inch, then scored at a 1/4 of an inch, but the full width of this is 6 inches. And this size of this piece of the black cardstock is 9 3/8, and then the pattern paper is 9 1/4. And again, what I did with this, these were all the cutoffs, and what I did is I just took all 3 pieces, stacked them on top of each other, and then I trimmed them to 9 1/4 to try to make sure that I had the exact width of both pieces. So what I'm going to do with this is then glue this. Ooh, I forgot to miter the seams on here. There we go. And again, I'm going to flatten down that gusset so that I can make sure that I am getting that gusset tight, the scoring tight to the top of my page, and that I'm matching up along my page here for my, and if it isn't perfect, well, it's as perfect as it's gonna get. So I just do the best that I can do. You know, something that's homemade, you know, even something that's made with a machine is not always perfect either. So just do the best you can do and enjoy the process of building what you're making. So then we can push this up. And like I said, this pattern paper was all from my cutoffs. And what I wanted to do is I wanted to add some pockets to the bottom of this page. Once we get pattern paper in here, this will become a little bit bulkier, and I may even do some other pockets, like a large pocket or maybe 2 side pockets in here. I haven't really decided about that yet, so I will see how the rest of this goes. So right now what I want to do is I'm going to put these pockets, and I will make tags for them, and the pockets will be tall enough so that, well, I should say the tags will be tall enough so that they can hold down this piece of the, I guess I have to, we may even have to do that. I might, but that's okay. That still holds that down, and that's what we really needed it to do. So, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to put my end ones on first, and then I'll put this one in on the middle. So how I cut this is I cut 3 pockets, and I did them a little bit different than I normally do. This piece of cardstock is 3 1/2 by 4 1/4, and I used a 1/4 inch hinge on both sides and a 1/4 inch hinge on the bottom. I mitered the edges and mitered the corners, and then I'm going to put my tag on the pocket. If I needed to, I might have needed to trim like a 1/16 of a 1/16 or something off the tags in case I didn't cut quite right, but basically there's really not going to be an edge onto these pockets or around the tags. And the reason for that is because it really wasn't quite wide enough. You might see a little bit of black just because of the, you know, the tag, the way it's cut. But in order for me to get 3 tags across here, I needed to make sure that these were 3 across and 4 up. So again, this is across 3.5 and height-wise 4 1/4, and scored at 1/4 inch around each side. And then that'll match up to any of the cut-aparts that are in this pack of papers. I can tell you that I'm so in love with this collection. I had posted something on Facebook, and someone on the Facebook page, they posted, they go, "Oh my God, that's so beautiful. I can even smell the lavender or the flowers." And I thought, you know what, she's right. I can too. Just beautiful. So then what we're going to do is, and the reason why I did this so that there was a little bit of depth to it, I find that for me, when I've tried to do a flat pocket where I just glue all the way around, I find that I always seem to have a struggle with trying to get a tag into that pocket. So I thought I would try this, and just by making it 1/4 inch gusset, or, oh shoot, you know what, we're going to stop right there because I wanted to put some little thumb holes in here just to make sure we wouldn't have, there we go, we wouldn't have any issues with I wonder. Let me just check something here real quick. Exactly where did I go? About 1/4. I guess if they're not exact, it's not that big of a deal. My flying half circles. So let's let me get some glue onto here again, and then and that's the thing too, is with these, for the tags that are going to go inside them, I will make those with some of my scraps and my cutoffs at the end, so I'm not going to put them in right now. And all of that you'll be able to see when I do the walkthrough. Or if I do it along the way, I'm not sure. We'll see. Sometimes I get tired of doing a page and I want to go ahead and, you know what? I want to try this out. Let's make sure it looks pretty even. Good. All right, so then I want to do this side, and I was going to put this even with this pocket, and then this one should fit right in the midst of those two. There's not going to be much room in between them, but I had to do that in order to get 3 going across, and I wanted 3 versus just 2 because I felt like 2 would look too like not enough, I guess is the, and I figured if I did both of them on the ends first, I could fit that into the middle. Oh my, I was thinking I was doing pretty good. So that makes it You know, it's amazing in the camera. You always can see so much more that the crafter is doing than the crafter can see by themselves. So 4 3/4. Is this what this ended up being? Actually, it ended up being a little higher than 4 3/4. Let me just check this. I should say higher. I should say lower. Okay. I think we're matching. All these little tools. Can't hardly see. So tell me, do you think they look even? If they don't, I guess I'll have to fix it. So then this one is going to go in the middle, and I think they look pretty even. Not too bad. Not too bad. And if they don't match, ah well. I'll just tell them that that's the way I wanted it. Because I wanted to see if they could catch it, that I didn't make it perfect. All right, I think that's going to give us cute little tag pockets that will look nice with our, let me see if I have a small piece here. Of course I don't, probably. Here we go. Here's a more narrow piece. But then this way we can put a tag in through here, and that'll hold this up. Or, yeah, this won't, unless we wanted that down like that. But I don't think I do. I think I want these on top of there. And then we can look at how we possibly want to decorate this up here. Maybe I might even do 3 picture frames up there on top to mirror this, or maybe 2 might be the right way to mirror that. And with our tags, gives us an opportunity. So that is that page. We need to put this into here. We need to finish off the inside of here. And the inside of here, I may even do a flap or folds inside of here. But again, if I do any of that, I'll come back and show you what I'm doing with that, if I'm doing anything to really change what this base is looking like. So I'm going to go ahead and put this base into our album so that we can get started on page number 3. And I want to look to see how this base page fits on here. I want to make sure I go more to the end and stay away from this middle. So I'm going to go ahead and put my glue down on the back of this. And like I said, I'm going to probably go back and add some more. I have room in my gussets on this page so that I can add more to the inside of this. So I probably will do that in order to make sure that it's full enough. But I prefer to kind of do that step by step. When I'm making albums, I don't really like to make, I guess I don't necessarily do everything all at once. I tend to do it in groups. That's the way it seems to work best for me. As in, you know, I'll do the majority of the page, and then I will come back to that page to finish it off, whether it's with mats or picture tags or things like that. Make sure I'm not, I feel like I'm a little bit off here. Okay. Thinking I might want to move this even a little bit more to the end of the page. I know it seems like I had it all the way to the end, but I really didn't. And because of the gussets I put into the pages, I want to make sure that I have this all the way to this outside edge, so that I have plenty of room for it to fold and bend over there. So it's not going to be necessarily even from side to side, meaning over here to here, but I want it that way so that I can make sure I have plenty of room for my page to fold. Take this out of here. There we go, that's better. Gives us a little bit more bending room. All right, so that is our second page, and I am going to come back and I will be putting some papers in between these bindings. And I left these so that there is a lot of room, so I have plenty of room for my pictures to go in, and that I'm not going to be struggling. I want this to be able to lay flat as I go through my album, so that we have plenty of room for that. All right. So that is our page 1. I will come back to our page 2 and share with you what we're going to be doing with that. And if I do anything more in here, I will also let you know. I may even end up doing something like a piece that goes across here, or I'm not sure what I'm going to be doing with that yet. I really got to think about that a little bit. All right. I will see you back in a little bit. Thanks. Okay, so we're going to get started on page 3. This is the base that I'm going to be using. I love that purple. But this is the base that I'm going to be using, and this was the wreath page. And this has been cut down to 9 3/8 by 9 3/8. And what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be putting a belly band on here, and I already got my belly band and I scored it, and basically it is going to fit onto this side of our page. And so for the cutting on the belly band, my belly band measures 10.5, and it was scored on either end. And then we are going to miter those corners. On both ends. And then I took some of my cardstock that I have, my leftover pieces, and I put a pocket here and I put a pocket here. So the pocket is the size of this belly band. This belly band measures 3 3/4. So this pocket measures 3 3/4. So I measured out 4 3/4 and scored at 1/2 inch on either side for the gussets. And then this measures from top to bottom This measures 3 3/4, and I scored on the bottom of my pocket at 1/2 of an inch for the bottom of my pocket. And then my second pocket, again, was 3 3/4, but it was cut at 4 3/4 so that I could score at 1/2 inch on this side and 1/2 inch on this side. And I then also measured this one out to, this one actually was probably 3 1/4. And what I did, I'm not sure if you're going to be able to see this, you won't. I scored on this side 1/2 inch, 1/2 inch over here, folded the flap, mitered the hinges, but then for my next pocket, what I actually did on this pocket is I'm just going to do a rough cut here. I actually took my pocket so that it fit down into here. This is a little bit, not sure if you can see that. Let me just put this behind it so you can see that a little bit. So it actually just slips right behind this other pocket without having to put an actual fold on there. So this would have a fold, this would have a fold, and then this would actually slip right down in. And it would make then the length of the pocket, the full length of the pocket. So before I put this belly band on, what I would like to do is cover my pockets and my belly band. And let me get my papers out here for what I have. So these, I am going to put this cardstock, I'm just gonna do this so I can see what I'm doing. This cardstock is actually, let me make sure I've got the right ones. Yep. It's just so I can see my black. This is actually going to go right up to here, and then we have a little bit left at the bottom here. So I'm going to put this down. Isn't that pretty? I love that paper. But I also want to put some of the solids in here so that we're not looking at all florals everywhere. So I'm going to get that down. And then what I want to do is I want to complement this with a cutting of the floral. Let me make sure I'm getting the right one for here. Yeah. So that it has, my cutoff pieces were a little bit short, so I'm going to use some of my cutoffs from my floral paper and complement that paper and the tags that we're putting in the pockets. And I have a little bit of a new design for my tag. It's kind of a booklet tag or pocket tag. And then this one is actually, I'm actually going to put the green this way so that we have floral, green, floral, and then I'm going to have a different floral up here. So I am going, and the reason for that is because I want to put this, this floral down, and the other one I can scooch down into this pocket in order to make sure that it's fits good or fits well. So I'm just making sure that fits in there. We have a little bit of our black. And then some of this is going to go down into here. So we're going to fit this piece. Nope, this is the best way to do it. So this is, once I get glue onto it, I will fit this up to here with a little bit of a mark in between. You're not going to see this right in between here because we have some tag items that are going to be going in the pocket that you won't even see that. And it doesn't look bad, it just doesn't look as perfect as we would like it. But this way I don't have to use whole brand new sheets of paper in order to cover something up. So that's our one pocket, two pockets there. And then we're going to cover this up on the top. So same thing as I did with the other one. I'm going to put this on here first because I want to make sure my bumblebee shows, and the rest I'm going to tuck down into that pocket. Whoa! Oops. I'm going to tuck a fairly significant amount into that pocket because I wanted to take, and I could cut this if I wanted to, but just more cutting than I really want to do. So I am going to butt up this piece of paper right up to here, and you barely see that. It just looks almost like a continuous piece of paper. And again, this is not something that you're going to really see the two pieces apart from each other so much, because there's going to be kind of like a tag booklet or something. Well, I'll show you in just a minute. Put these two, they didn't really cut that way because they were cut more side by side, but of course one side goes closer than I want and the other side doesn't. I'm just going to leave it. Even though it's not as perfect as I want it to be. But you can see it's a little bit different, but it just kind of looks like a different form of the florals. So what we're going to do then is we are going to put this belly band down onto our paper, our base page, and I'm going to start on one side. Make sure it gets, I just want to make sure I'm okay. Let's make sure this is on here centered, or not centered. I wanted it a little bit off to the side, and the reason for that is because there's so much beautiful design on the other side of the paper that I thought it would look nice to have this maybe off to this side a little bit. And then we'll put this flat, and this will give it a little bit of room for tucking things underneath. I don't want to make my belly band tight, because if I make it tight it ends up bowing the page, and I don't want it to do that. So I have my belly band. See, it pops up a little bit on itself. I was going to put this piece in here, but I'm going to need to put a little bit more in here so that it's a little bit thicker. But what I'm going to be putting in there is these They're really ticket or tab holders. You can put tags here, here, and here, and you can also put some paper on the back of here if you'd like to have a place for journaling. But otherwise, we can put tags in here so that we can put pictures on that, or we can even put pictures on the front of the tab. So this is how I made this. I took one sheet, a 12 by 12 of the pattern paper, and so if you imagine this is one sheet, and from the top of the sheet I measured down 4 inches and made a mark here. From the bottom of the sheet I measured up 4 inches and made a mark here. And then what I did is I took my long ruler and I ran my long ruler and matched up the tick marks on the edge of the page. And what I ended up doing was then taking my knife and I cut diagonally along there. So then once that's cut, what I then did was take this to my scoreboard, and it doesn't really matter what end is down, what end is up so much, and I scored at 3 inches, 6 inches, and 9 inches. And then once they were scored, I then folded this in, because this is what I wanted on the inside, this on the outside. I folded this and I folded this one, and that comes all together. See, like this one is not flapping open because I already glued it down. So what we're going to do with this is we're going to come along and we're going to do a very thin bead of glue along the edge of this, down to the edge of this, and we're going to glue that down. Now these can be put, they could be put, they actually could even just be, you know, glued onto a page and for pockets going up as well. But I'm going to use this in my pockets here. Wanted to do something a little bit different. Put my glue on here. And my glue on through here. And the reason why I'm putting my glue on this piece versus the bottom is because then it goes just as high as my my side goes. It doesn't, you know, I don't have to worry about going up here too high. So I'm going to, I've even seen people make a tag like this, glue it down onto their page, and then they put even a writing spot right in the middle here, and they've decorated this piece as well. So you can do that as also, if that's something that you would like for some journaling in your book. This time I'm going to do it just like this, and we will see how that all works. Alright, so glue that down. Don't have tags cut, but I do have tags on another page. Let me grab at least one of them. So I think this will work. Oh no, maybe it's just a little too wide. But basically you can put, this is 3 inches across here. So like if you took a tag that was 2 7/8, you could slip that right down into there. This could be a long tag and then a little shorter right here. So that makes for just a really neat looking tag for your page. So we'll put one and slide this one to probably right about there, and this one I'll slide all the way down into the page, and even that gives us a little bit more bulk on our belly band and gives us some interest. And we'll cover this over again at the end we talked about, but I'm thinking about even taking some other leftover cardstock. Can you believe it? I think I've run out of black Artisan cardstock. I not run out of it like I have no cutoffs. I have cutoffs, but I think I'm on my last page of 12 by 12. So let's just pray that I'm not, and that I find another pack somewhere. So anyways, I want to come back and do something else with this mat, and whether I make it into, you know, a mat with, you know, my cutoffs or whatever, but this will go right into here. But in the meantime, let's put this page in our book, and I'll show you a couple things that I've done since we were together, or yeah, since we were together. I just did a couple little things. One that I did was I put this piece of ephemera right here because I wanted this to hold this down a little better. We'll see how it works. And then on this page, I decided I was going to put my place photo here. I put some of the ephemera on this side, but again, leaving this open for my picture or photo. Same thing on this side. I left this open for my photo, and over on this side as well. So this is just glued down over here. I've not done anything else through that. But I also have been working on this and putting it together like this. I thought that works pretty good. It keeps it down and together. And I also ended up putting papers in the middle, in my spine. And on this spine, this is actually a wider gusset for my album, and I cut this one at 5/8. That one was cut, and I've kind of noticed here this was 5/8 as well, but I didn't measure this out quite as good. This one ended up being 3/8 of an inch here. I'll show you one other thing I saw another crafter do, was then I saw them cut some paper and just glue it into here so it finishes off the top and finishes, I don't know if you can see that, finishes off the bottom of the spine. And I thought I would try that out, and I think it looks pretty good. I think if I had made this a little bit, I would have, you know, done a better job of when I put my hinges in. I think this would look perfect. I think that because I, you know, messed up a little bit there, but nobody's really going to know that as much as I am, so I'm not worried about it. So what we're going to do is come and get this page put into our album, making sure that we are even on all edges, and we will glue that down and in. And the reason why I didn't do a lot to this page is because the page on back of it, page number 2, has quite a bit of thickness to it. So I thought, well, I should probably make this one not quite as thick and make it a little bit thinner and not quite so much weight to it, because of the other one had a lot on it. So just trying to get this fitted top and bottom, side to side, and also watching my hinge along here that I'm not and there we go. That's our third page for our album. We're doing pretty good. This lays pretty flat from this page to this page. Not even too badly on that. And then we've got page 4, 5, and 6 left to do. So I'm going to get working on that. And I know one of them I want to do a waterfall on. I'm not sure whether I'm going to do it on here or whether I'm going to do it on the back cover. So let's just see what we've got, and I'll be back in a few minutes. Thank you.